God bless you. This is Glory Be to God. Mighty God Ministries, episode 8. We're on a roll tonight. I don't know why, but tonight I feel like I'm burning the midnight oil, and I feel like I should just keep making some of these videos. So if I'm a little tired, if I'm saying the same thing, I apologize. But you know what? This channel is to glorify God, and I don't know why. I just felt the need to do these videos tonight. And maybe we'll take a little time off and then post them up later. But this story is going to be called The Two Trees. And you know, a lot of these stories are going to be to glorify God, how He saved me. They're all going to be different aspects. But this is one that involves my brother, the same one that we burnt the field down with. You know, we had some good times, but we tended to get in some trouble. And I don't know how we got into trouble. I don't know if it was Satan trying to destroy us or kill us or what the deal was, or if it was just us doing stupid things that kids do. But when I look back at it, I'm thinking, wow, that was not smart. So again, these are learning lessons to learn what not to do, because, you know, if we weren't covered, or someone wasn't praying for us, we would have been goners. Again, we'd been in the coffin. I wouldn't be in this chair telling these stories. But, you know, one of the episodes I was talking about cars, and I had a couple different experiences of different things that happened in cars. Well, I mean, there's a lot, but we lived out in the country. So in the country, there's certain things you can do. And, you know, so you make fun with like just these random things. And, you know, we played sports and growing up and did all kinds of other stuff. And then I ended up leaving the sports. I got out of the sports and did some other things. And that sort of led me down to chasing some of the things down the wrong paths and going that. But it all worked out. You know, God's good. He can take different things and make them life learning lessons. And He can work all things out in perfect time, because that's what He does. But what ends up happening is we have got these at the, I think it was the S10 truck we had at the time. Yeah, S10 truck. They was the lease ones through GM or whatever the deal was. It was like $100 a month back in like the 90s or something. That was like a steal. And we had one that was like an automatic. We had one that was stick, I think, at the time. I can't remember it all. But we're in the country, so we used to go have fun. And I don't know if we watched like Dukes of Hazzard too many times or what we were thinking, but we would go down these country roads. And obviously, you know, you got to be careful on country roads, because you don't know which way they're going to go. And it's not like today they've come a long way where they have like the different signs that tell you things, and, you know, different things where the roads are nice and paved, or they're, you know, certain ways. So there's this road, and I'm not going to give you the name of it. I'm sure they fixed it by now, because it probably wasn't the best way to have it like that. But there's this road out where we live in the country. And the road is straight, and then it goes like this and like this. So it's got this like a big bump, you know, in the road, which I don't even know why it had the big bump. I'll have to one of these days take a drive out there and see if it's still like that, or I'm sure they fixed it by now. But it would have this big like bump, almost like a mini hill in the road. So the road goes straight, then a mini hill, and it's out in the country, so there's not a lot of houses around. It's not, you know, super dangerous, but it's also not like probably the best thing to have. So of course we're young, dumb, and we find this hill, and I don't even know why we were driving out that way. I don't know if it was an accident or what, but we go down this road, so we find the hill with this bump in it. So we're like Dukes of Hazzard in this thing now, you know, because we don't, you know, again, obviously don't do this stuff. It is dumb. You can get hurt. It's dangerous. I mean, the list is on and on of all the bad things that could happen. You know, drive safely, drive the speed limit. And you know what? And this just makes me think of another story that just popped into my head that we'll bring that into this. But same thing with my brother. We did some stupid stuff. And again, we didn't mean to, but we just, you know, you're young and you don't realize it. So let this be a lesson. If you're driving cars, go the speed limit, maybe 5 miles per hour. You know, you shouldn't even do that. But, you know, at the most, go 5 miles per hour. There's reason why they have the rules and all these regulations. And I can tell you the different stories of why you got to watch out for these, because, again, you can get hurt bad, you know. So just be careful. And this story is a perfect example right here. there was that bump. So what we would do is we'd speed the car up, like we're Dukes of Hazzard, and I don't know if the street was probably 35, 40 miles per hour. I don't know. It was the country, so who knows? It might have been 55 back then or something like that. But we would fly the speed up right before we get to the bump, and then you'd be like, boom, boom, and you'd go over the bump. And it was, it wasn't Dukes of Hazzard, but it was, it was fun. But you know what? That kind of stuff, what I've learned is, and learn from our example, if you want to go do that stuff, go to a place that lets you do it. That's under, it's controlled, it's safe, you got helmets on and stuff. I'm going to tell you another story, but if you want to drive fast, go to a racetrack. There's a reason why, and I'm going to tell you another story why you need to go to a racetrack, because there's a good chance you can die. That's the main reason, is you can die. And I'm going to tell you why, and I know that for a fact, because me and my brother, we did something else, same thing. And there's a reason why they have those, because the little things in the road, they can affect it. But anyways, we'll go back to the story. We're going over this. We would do this all the time. We'd go out, randomly, we'd be like, hey, you want to go for a drive? All right, let's go for a drive board. And we go, we Dukes of Hazzard over this hill. So we've done this probably, a dozen times. And of course, that's how the devil gets you too, right? You get comfortable and complacent. And you're like, I've done it, this many times. No big deal. I'll just do it again. Everything will work out. Well, what do? We do it again. And then we're like, you know what? We've never gone down the road. We always make a left or a right here, and we go this way to go back home. So we're like, let's go down the road. So I don't know if I was driving, my brother driving. It might have been me, but I can't remember. I think it was me, but I'd have to ask him. I'll have to ask him if he remembers the story too. But literally, we're going down this country road. And it's in the country, it's for like 45, 55 miles per hour. I think a lot of speed limits have changed now, and they're like 45. And like I said, they don't have the signs that they have now today. It's like back then, it was the 90s. They didn't have all these signs and the different things. So we're flying. We're doing like 45 or something like that, which was probably okay on the road. But what we don't realize is the road literally goes like this, and then just a straight L. Like literally, there's not even like a circular bend. It's like the road goes boop and like this. So literally, we don't know this. So we're doing like 45 or something like that, maybe 50. I don't know. I think it was 45. And I'm telling you, again, God saved us. We had some angels watching over us, because we go to make the turn, and this is at like the last second, because it's like the road just went away. And at this time, I think I remember there was like corn, so you couldn't even really see. So we go to the left. I cut the wheel. I think it was me driving. I'm pretty sure it was. I cut the wheel, and we go like this, and then we go like off the road, and we go in between these two trees. And I'll never forget, thinking, man, like we're going to die. Like we are going to die. Because I'm thinking like these two trees are like here and here. And we're in an S10 truck. And the S10 truck was small, but it still was not like, these trees were close. And by the grace of God, we make it straight through. The car was scraped up. It was definitely scraped up. But we didn't impact, the tree on the left or the right that, we impact that. Obviously going 45, that's not going to be a good day. I don't know if we would have, I don't know what would have happened, but it wouldn't have been good. I know that. So we made it in between perfectly. Like the car was scraped up because there was all kinds of like brush around there and stuff. And I'm like, and it was like slow motion. If you've ever been in a car accident before, or in a situation, it's like slow motion because your adrenaline's rushing, but it stops. It's like time slows down, and I'm sure there was, like I said, I'm sure that there were angels helping us, or God was watching over us, because it was only 45, and then it's just a straight L. And I tried to cut as best as possible, but it was so quick. And like I said, we just managed to get by these two trees. And I should show a picture of the trees if I could find it online. I'm sure I could. but it was a very, very small spot. Now in retrospect, after this all happened, and then we're like, oh my God, we didn't die. Another one of those stories was like, whoa, I cannot believe this, because it was obviously a dangerous situation there. We realized that there's like another house that's like way back. So if we would have went straight and then veered to the right a little bit, there was like a road, but it was like a dirt road at the time. It wasn't even like a real road, but we could have probably went that way, but we didn't know it because we'd never been down that road that far. And like I said, it was just straight and then a straight left cut. And then the crazy thing is the left cut goes to another right cut and it goes straight up. So now, like after we did that, we realized like, whoa, you're going down this road. You better go like slow and then make the left and then the right. But like I said, I'm assuming now with all the technology and the way the roads are, they probably got a big sign that's like, hey, this road's going to be like, one of those. But at the time, we didn't know it. So we definitely could have been a goner on that one. But let me see if I can find. I wonder if I have a picture somewhere. Let me see real quick, because I mean it was just unbelievable. I think I saved a picture because I was wondering like, is it still there? And I'm thinking like, that's crazy. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Give me 1 second here. This is probably not going to be the best, but if you can see that, this is where it's at, and these are the two trees. So if you could imagine an S10 truck, which is, and obviously this is, I think this was like a Google image that I picked up. So obviously these, there's not a lot of space there. There's not very much space there. So if you could imagine that, that was the two trees. So that's exactly where we went through, and that was another blessing by God that He saved us, because again, it's just a lesson. Don't do this. Like I said, we were young. We were probably 16, 17. I don't know if we were 18 or what we are. Yeah, it's probably was 16, 17, 18 years old, somewhere around there. But again, don't do that. If you want to get that excitement, because a lot of, it's that excitement factor you want to do. Get your excitement by God, number one. But if you do want to go to that, there's a reason why they have, off-road courses, and they have, drag strips and racing tracks and all that stuff. There's a reason why they have that. It's, you definitely want to go do that. And I could tell you another story, again, about the cars, because we used to be in the sports cars, obviously. A lot of guys and girls, they're in the sports cars. And we used to look, growing up, we'd have all the magazines, Muscle Car Mag and Hot Rod and all this stuff. And at the time, my parents, they had a 1987 Corvette. It's 87? I think it was an 87 Corvette. And it had a Z52 suspension on it, or either Z52 or Z51 suspension on it. So it could really handle, and that was back then. And it was used, but it was a clean car. It was a beautiful car. So we used to drive that thing around. And again, cars are fun to drive on the roads, but if you want to do, like, you want to go fast and that, take them to the drag strip or take them to a racetrack. When you do this stuff on the streets, what a lot of people don't realize is that the streets aren't made to go that fast on. And you'll see this time and time again with, like, people that get like Ferraris, and I'm not judging, because we've done the same thing. I mean, it was just, some of the stuff we did was just stupid, and you learn by doing it. But the example is like, you see these people get Ferraris and they're doing $120 or something like that, and they run into like 3 different cars. Well, it's like, yeah, because what happens is, what you don't realize, if you have a regular car, even if you're on the highway, you do about 70, 80, maybe you shouldn't be going 90, but let's just say you do 80. 80 is pretty quick. But what you'll realize is, and I know this because me and my brother, did it a couple times, and then after that we were like, whoa, like we were like, we need to go to a racetrack, because like the first time you do it, you start to understand really quick how dangerous it is. And like I said, this is probably 25 years ago, maybe 27 years ago. I don't even remember, but it's a long time ago. But when we had that car, obviously, if you're on the street, you do the speed limit, you do 40, 50, no big deal, okay? Normally, you got brakes, you can control it and everything. But I remember the one time we were going on the highway, and we were, like, oh, let's see what we could top out at. Because I think the speedometer on that was like 175 or 180. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it topped. I think it was only 160. I don't know if it might have been limited too also. But what happens is, and let this be a life lesson. Learn this. Once you hit a certain speed on the highway, the road is not long enough, which is why on racetracks they're circular, because it lets you have enough road to get up to a certain speed. If you're on the highway, unless it's a straight highway and you got a lot of room, once you get past 120, even 130, you start doing any higher than that, and cars are like little dots. You can't even make them out. Like you're going that when you go that fast, and I know this because you're in the car. And I told my brother, I'm like, I think he was driving at that time, and I said, "Whoa!" I'm like, "Dude," so I'm like, "We gotta slow down." And even he was like, he's like, "Oh, I just want to top out." I don't know if we topped out at 160 or what we were doing, but once you get up past like one something up top there, you are going so fast that the cars that are on the road that are doing 70, they look like little dots. You can't even make them out. And the problem is the way the road is, there's not enough track. So if you want to go do that, you want to drive fast, and you don't want to die, okay, which no one wants to die, then what you want to do is you want to go to a racetrack or do one of those courses where it's controlled, because then you're not going to have anyone else on the course. You can top that bad boy out or like 140, 160 or 180, and you can go fast, but it's in a controlled environment where you don't have to worry about hitting someone or another car, because like I said, they look like little dots. Like it's hard to describe it, but and again, don't ever do it. Again, I'm telling you this because, I just know we've done so many dumb things that, like, again, I wouldn't be here, but one of the main reasons it made me pop up and think about that is to let it be an example of what not to do, because you will get hurt. And there's a reason why they have racetracks. There's a reason why you have drag strips to, top the car out, and they're a certain length, and there's only, 2 lanes, and only 2 cars can go at the same time. And even then, if you have 2 cars, like, it can, sometimes be dangerous if one goes over or whatever. But definitely take that to heart. And even if you have a regular car, you have to understand that, a regular car, you don't want to sit there and pretend like, oh, let me, think I'm Fast and the Furious and top the car out, because what's going to happen is those cars aren't made, to go those speeds in a corner like that. That even that Corvette, that Corvette had a particular suspension package on it that you could take corners at a certain speed and be okay. But if you took it at a speed that was way higher, you're going to flip out and die. And all you have to do is go on YouTube and, type in epic car fails, or I forget what the titles are of those videos, but just go watch those and you'll see it. And people get hurt, it's dangerous. So you don't want to hurt people. You don't want to do that. So, watch those and you'll see, it's those are typical, people get the sports car. They've never driven a car like that. And those are whole different animals, and they think it's, you're playing, what's the arcade game? Cruising USA. I don't know if anyone remembers that, if it's still, I think it's still around. Cruising USA, where all the cars go the same speed, and, you run into the cars and no one gets hurt. But, obviously in real life, it's a whole different ball game, and that's why that happens. People aren't used to driving a car that goes, even a mid-speed car. you know, it's a total different ball game. So again, glory be to God that He saved us with the trees in that road, and then also with the highway. It's just you got to be careful. You got to know that the rules and the laws. Again, it says in the Bible, there's a reason why you're supposed to obey authority in the rules and laws. And again, they're not there to limit you. They're there to save your life, and because there's a reason for them. People don't just make up these rules and say, oh, we don't want someone going an extra 5 miles per hour or whatever. They're there for a reason. And thank God the roads, a lot of the roads have changed, and the signs are a lot better now. And if you have GPS systems now, it tells you the road's going to curve ahead and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, like I said, we lucked out on that one, because that was another one. It was like, if you saw those two trees, it was like slow motion. And when you think about it, that wasn't like, it wasn't a massive ditch, but there's a ditch there. So not only are we doing the 45, which I think we were doing the speed limit, but still, it doesn't matter. There's a ditch, you go down, take an impact, and somehow, by the grace of God, make it through the two trees there. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'll have to ask my brother, and I don't know if he'd want to jump on, but I'll have to ask him if he remembers the story, or if he sees it differently than I did. That's how I remember it. And I don't know. I want to say I was driving though. But I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I was driving, but I remember I was thinking, we are done for when it first happened. And I want to say I remember cutting the wheel, and I was like, we're done. And even he was like, holy smokes. I'm not going to say the words, because again, we want to glorify God, so I'm not going to swear. But it was like, holy smokes. Like, we were shook up. We were shook up after that one. And and then we, obviously we told our parents, we told them the truth. The car's scratched up. It's all, there's no dents in it because we didn't run into the tree, but it was all scraped all get out because of all the brush around there and stuff. And like I said, I think it was at the time there was like, now it's cut, and that picture was cut down, but I don't know when that was. That was like a Google online thing. I think there was cornfields at the time or something like that. So there was corn on the side, so we couldn't even really see, per se what we were going into. I just knew that, going straight wasn't a great option, because I assumed the road wasn't going to be there, and then going left was the only one. So again, let this be a lesson what not to do, and just be safe out there. If you want the excitement and adventure, get it through God, and He'll protect you. And like I said, if you want to do those things with cars, we grew up with different types of cars, wrenching on cars and different things, and we drove all different types of cars. We had beater cars. We had an older 87 Buick Regal that the struts were bad on it, so we'd pile a bunch of people in there, and you'd make a left turn, and this thing would be like, ooh, you'd be going off the road, and then the other one, not off the road, but the struts would be like this, so the car would go, the star would shift, the body would shift and go to the other side. And we had trucks, and we had a couple, I would, not race cars, but sports cars, fun to drive. But again, it's all about being safe. You can always have fun, but the key is to have safe fun. And obviously pray, because there's power in prayer. And I'm telling you, when you are in those situations where you feel like there's no way out and you have no options, you pray to God, and He will make a way where there seems to be no way. That is what He does. I'm going to end this one, but God bless you. If you are not saved, click the description, read the salvation prayer out loud. It is the best thing that you could ever do in your life. Jesus loves you. God loves you. I love you because the Holy Spirit's inside of me, which is Jesus, and He loves everyone. And again, it's the best thing you could do is form a relationship with Him. So again, read that salvation prayer. That'll start your journey, and you'll start moving on. God bless you. Good night.